With that, we are ready to head over to Studio 2A. My guest this week, Beyond Words, will be with us for the next hour. And don't forget that if you happen to be in front of a screen, you can watch this performance by heading over to the KXCI Facebook page or YouTube channel. So, without further ado, live from Studio 2A, here's Beyond Words.
It's called Galaxy Brother, with a little 2001 intro there. And that little bluesy thing is called Shades of Blue. And this is a blast playing here. Sounds good. Everything. We're going to do one more, then take a little break. Sound good? This is something we call Magic Carpet. Don't ask me why. It's just got a kind of a Mideastern magical feel to it. Kind of flying through the air or something.
You're tuned into Locals Only. My name's Matt, and we are live in Studio 2A with Beyond Words. Thanks for coming down tonight, everybody.
No, it's a blast. Fun.
So let's go around the room. Let us know who you are and what you're playing tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's start with the drummer since he's the loudest guy.
Yeah. I'm Martin Tiernan, and I'm the drummer in the band.
He sure is. All right, I'm Pete Fine. I write a lot of the material. I play guitar, and it's a blast to have these guys playing with me and me playing with them.
And I'm Kat Ripley. I'm playing bass, and it's a lot of fun playing with these guys, so it's an honor. Thanks.
I'm Andy Hannon, and I'm playing the keyboard and the synth.
Excellent. Well, thanks again for coming down, everybody. I appreciate you appreciate having you here. And Pete, why don't you talk a little bit about the history of this project?
Okay.
When did Beyond Words start?
Well, Beyond Words actually started in 1996 with other musicians. I had this idea. I'm a composer. I've written a lot of orchestral stuff. And I wanted to do some of the orchestral stuff in an electric setting and then some other stuff. And it's gone through a few versions. This is the latest and most exciting version, I must say. As an instrumental band, an original instrumental band in Tucson, it can be challenging to find venues to play. So every time we get a chance to play, we really enjoy it and cherish it. We have a gig at Club Congress this Saturday night. We're hoping to get a bunch of people out. It's 7:30 at Club Congress. We'll be doing all our originals. We'll also be doing some covers by people like Edgar Winter, Jeff Beck, Billy Cobham, Dixie Dregs, the Mahavishnu Orchestra, a whole bunch of covers to keep the originals company.
Cool.
And the four of us have been playing together. How long has it been now? When did we put this thing together? About a year. Martin and Kat and I were in a few projects before this. And this is kind of the culmination of all of our efforts.
So you mentioned that in some form or another this project has existed dating back to 1996.
Yes.
Are the songs that we're hearing tonight, are these songs that span the length of the project, or are they newer songs?
Yes, I would say about half of them are. Some are more recent. Once I realized the amount of talent I had in this band to play along with me, I started writing some more stuff that I hope they would enjoy. And we're going to be doing one of Andy's tunes next also that is very different and very neat. It's a tango of sorts.
Oh, cool. Well, so let's talk a little bit about the collaborative process. So obviously, the project started with your compositions, Pete, but as you've brought in other members, you've been generous enough to allow collaboration and other contributions. So tell me about the process, the shared creative process of coming up with these songs.
Well, for me, I just tell everybody on a lot of this stuff, I'll send them like kind of a mock-up, a MIDI mock-up or whatever. But I want them to add their own ideas because that makes the tunes even better.
Yeah.
With their all creative input, and it's pretty free to come up with your own parts in it, and then we arrange it so that everybody has solo time, stuff like that. It's real easy. It's been real easy.
Good. And Andy, for this next song that we're going to hear, what is it that led you to bring this one to the group? What made it feel like a good Beyond Words song for you?
So I joined up with this band, I think, back in January. And super excited about all the stuff they were doing. So I was just like, I'm going to write a song for this band. And this is the first one I came up with. I got another one that we might work on one day.
Yeah.
So, it's cool to write for people that can play stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. I agree.
So this Saturday, 7:30 at Congress, and some of the songs that we're hearing tonight, plus others.
Others, yeah.
And if people want to keep track of what's going on with this project or any of your other projects, Pete, what's the best way to do that online?
The band itself doesn't have its own Facebook page or anything yet, does it?
It's a work in progress.
So. It's a work in progress. I do have a website if people want to go to petefine.com. I list everything that's going on, and people can contact me as well if they want to ask any questions or find out anything that isn't already up on the website.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So why don't we get into our next set? We're going to hear a few more songs here before we chat again. You're listening to Beyond Words, live on Locals Only on KXCI.
melody Tucson by our keyboardist, Andy Henry. And now for something completely different, as they used to say on the Monty Python show. A little crazy excursion that we call Warp 11. And that's a faster speed than Warp 10, in case anybody's wondering. This next tune, we're going to slow it down and lighten it up. This is a piece that was written by my son, Tree Fine Hardesty. It's called Infinite. And his arrangement was a little bit more metal than this. We've kind of melded it out a little and added our own parts. If he's listening, I hope he enjoys it.
You are listening to Beyond Words here on Locals Only, live in Studio 2A. My name's Matt Milner. Pleased to be with you here tonight, and so grateful to have Beyond Words with us. Thanks for coming down tonight, everyone.
Thank you
for having us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Especially with a show coming up.
Yeah, so Saturday night at Club Congress, 7:30, you can catch Beyond Words. And will that be inside in the club or outside on the
It's
plaza?
going to be inside, as far as I know. Yeah. We have played outside. That's a nice venue too. Some nights can start to get a little chilly, and the fingers need to be warm. So I prefer to play indoors this time of year. Yeah, it's a great stage, great sound. It's really a great room to play. Probably one of my favorite.
Yeah, we love Congress.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of diversity within that set. We started off in the realm of tango. We, had for the Warp 11 track just some incredibly elaborate, fast, technical music, and then for that last song, something a little mellower. Curious to talk a little bit about all of your respective musical backgrounds. Pete, you talked about having a background in classical composition, but I'd be curious to hear a little bit from everyone about whether your musical background's mostly in classical, rock, jazz, or equal parts all of the above. So why don't we start, Martin, with you?
Well, I probably would have to say rock and roll. I mean, started out playing rock and roll, and then I heard a band called Weather Report, and that was pretty much it for rock and roll for a while. Jaco Pastorius and Joe Zawin, all those guys that kind of turned me on to fusion music, jazz rock fusion, Miles Davis and stuff like, just fusion-y stuff.
Yeah.
And but I still had a lot of rock influences, like the old progressive band Yes, Bill Bruford and Rush, Neil Peart, a lot of the heavy technical drummers, and just kind of move that stuff over to the tunes that Pete writes. Like he said, he'll send us just a really basic MIDI kind of mock-up, and we just come up with our own parts, So, it started in New York playing with a lot of cover bands and bands playing their own tunes. Moved to Tucson in '98. Took about 10 years off for personal reasons and got back into playing in 2009. Played with some cover bands around town, and then looked on Craigslist and found Kat. Did some auditions, a lot of auditions, and I failed to make the band that Kat was in, but she kept at it, and she introduced me to a lot of really great musicians in Tucson. I owe it to her. I mean, she just kind of launched me into the musical universe of Tucson, and I've met so many cool people, as a result of that.
Excellent.
So and now we've gone from rock and roll, jazz, fusion, prog rock, African, reggae. So I played in a reggae band, a couple of reggae bands, Afro pop stuff. It's just kind of really broad range of stuff. Yeah. But this is very challenging music, to say the least.
Kat, what about your background?
So Martin kind of stole my story about Weather Report. Yeah, I actually didn't know that. That's pretty cool. We have that in common. Yeah, I was in 9th grade and was classically trained in clarinet, which, we'll have those stories. And they needed a bass player for the jazz symphony, the jazz combo, and I raised my hand and was like, we don't need a clarinet, but you can play bass if you want. Nobody else. And so I learned the bass in 9th grade, and it was because of listening to Weather Report and Chicoria. Those were my two, Jaco, of course.
Sure.
Yeah, Chicoria bands. So so I played a lot of jazz, played in college, and took 18 years off to have kids. It was literally did not play. Moved to Tucson about 10 years ago and picked it up again, like met Martin, and like Martin said, played in some reggae bands, some rock covers, and then met up with these guys, which is just so much fun. It's really great as a musician to be challenged. Athletes or musician, you get to a point in your your musical life or your athletic life, and you need to be challenge with people that are better than you. You up your game, so this has been really fun. So yeah, my influences mostly jazz, I have to say, with some classical, and I do thank Pete for allowing us the liberty to take his charts and write. As a bass player, it's good to do lyrical stuff for me. I like lyrical bass lines, and try to stick in some slap in there, but not too much there. So yeah, that's kind of where I am right now. I also play in an all-female Celtic rock band, which is just fun and new and different, and it's trying new stuff. So yeah,
Excellent.
Thanks for having us.
Of course.
Hey.
Yeah.
Andy, you're next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Tell us
So, my life story. Yeah. So my parents, let me take piano lessons when I was a kid, and I just always loved it, and I never stopped playing ever since. So I played in high school jazz bands. Went to college. I got a minor in music, where I did classical piano, jazz bands, composition, and then came out here. Mostly I'm a scientist, but do end up getting to do some music in my free time.
Yeah.
So I've been playing in some different bands. I played in a band called Provoke the Eddy, which was great. And then played in a few other bands, and now I'm playing with these guys. Mainly Martin calls me up every once in a while, and sometimes I'm free, sometimes I'm not. Stars aligned. I was free to play in this band, and I'm really happy I am.
Excellent.
Speaking of my class, I'm not classically trained, not formally. I grew up, in New York City in 1963. I heard the Beatles for the first time on Ed Sullivan. I said to my dad, I want to play drums. Ringo is so cool. My dad says, we live in an apartment. You're not playing drums. Pick another instrument. So I ended up playing guitar. And at an early age, I turned on an early FM. FM was like a new thing back then. And I heard a symphony by Anton Bruckner. I said, wow, this is the most amazing, powerful music. I want to play with an orchestra. Well, I was a guitar player. I wasn't really going to play with an orchestra unless I started writing for it. And as I started doing that, and I've been fortunate enough to do a couple of concertos, electric guitar concertos with an orchestra. But, I've always loved classic rock and progressive rock. Mahavishnu Orchestra blew my mind in the 70s, John McLaughlin, and I've always liked time signatures and stuff like that. So this is a nice way to utilize all that with these guys.
The Southern Arizona Symphony recently
did
an entire night of your music with you playing guitar and like a 100-piece orchestra.
I like to write that stuff.
Yeah, so Pete wrote that song Warp 10, and as much as I love just spreading my wings and being able to do some progressive rock jazz, it's great to just like bang on our instruments and play really loud. And so Warp 10 kind of morphed into Warp 11 because it was just so complex, and we just kept going faster and faster.
Right,
So it is fun to just.
And you Star Trek fans, where the warp thing comes from.
This song goes to 11.
It goes to 11.
So this weekend, 7:30 at Club Congress, you can catch Beyond Words, and if you want to be able to find more of Pete's music from other projects and keep track of what's going on with this project, you can go to his website as well. And was that just PeteFine.com?
Yeah.
Easy
for me to remember, so hopefully other people can remember it.
Perfect. All right, well, we're going to hear a few more songs here from Beyond Words.
And you noticed that in the last set we covered 3 different styles. We like doing different styles that kind of work for us, if it's good music, it's good music, So we're actually going to do something that's kind of a bluegrass tune.
Cool.
On steroids, I guess, but it has its roots there. It's called Hoedown. That's a hoedown. So to completely change it, this is actually a piece that we call The Rainbow That Turned to Stone, which is the Navajo translation of a place called Rainbow Bridge up in Glen Canyon, which is now Lake Powell on the Utah side of the lake. I was there many years ago and was so inspired by the beautiful side of this amazing natural bridge that I wrote this piece. And I actually orchestrated it. It became the second movement of my first electric guitar concerto. This is a band arrangement, The Rainbow That Turned to Stone. And what's it going to be, Mr. Natural or? Yeah. Okay, we're going to do a piece called Mr. Natural. It's one of our newest originals, actually. And some of you who are ancient like me might remember a comic strip character by R. Crumb called Mr. Natural. Man, that's going way back. He was always seen like kind of strutting, had a big long beard and strutting down the street, and this just reminds me of strutting down the street. I guess that's why I named it Mr. Natural. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
You've been listening to Beyond Words, live in Studio 2A here on Locals Only. You can catch them this Saturday at 7:30 at Club Congress. Thanks again for coming down tonight, everybody.
Thank you, Ned. It's been a
Thanks for
blast.
having
And
us.
thanks, everyone who's been listening.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
And you can watch footage of this if you head to the KXCI YouTube channel. We'll have that up shortly. And you can also head to kxci.org in the coming days to re-listen to this performance as well. And don't forget that if you want to find out more about upcoming shows from Beyond Words or other projects that Pete has, you can go to petefine.com. With that, we are ready to wrap up another edition of Locals Only. Thanks again for tuning in tonight. Sophie will be hosting next week, and our live guest will be the Unday. So, thanks. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Cool.